some of the reflections are really good with the sixes. So in terms of like a student learner profile, at the end of when they graduate year six, students will be able to reflect on their skill set with regards to collaboration and where they need to improve and how far. Again, everything that we do is embedded in pedagogical practices and content. Again, here in the year six graduation, they look at the six thinking hats because they're actually designing an event that we'll have to factor in an audience, we'll have to factor in, risk management, planning, where do we put the prams for the babies that come and the parents. So there's a whole process. So this is another tool that we have in the toolbox for collaboration if they had to use the six thinking hats to collaborate and plan an event. And obviously, like, it was a real big challenge for them to actually think from, okay, we're just going to get some, some food and invite everyone to the event. This is the tool in action. This is the grass task. So once they got into the group, they do the wide chart as a group. What does it look like, feel like, and sound like for us to collaborate? And then they complete every group that's obviously running a session for that particular graduation. We'll have a role. We'll have say the jobs will be shared fairly, and everyone will have a job to do. And hopefully, like, everyone will work together to achieve that goal. Obviously, it doesn't always work like that because when they reflect, they realize some people go backwards in the dimension. They realize that their collaborative behaviors weren't as where they thought it would be, or the feedback they got from their colleagues or their teammates wasn't as good. So these are just some reflections from the students. So that obviously this is inside the passport. They know where they are, and then at the end of the actual task, they actually reflect and show evidence of where they think they've moved. In some cases, some have moved backwards, and they actually acknowledge that. It's interesting how honest children can be when it comes to self-reflection. This particular one down here, I'm going down, he thought he was accelerating and then realized after that big year six graduation task and the goals that were supposed to be achieved in terms of the competency weren't achieved. So he shifted himself a bit backwards. So we went from, if you look here, in 2019, when we first started deep learning, the teachers were running everything. They were the MCs, they were the organisers. It was done for, teachers, from a teacher's point of view. When the students start running their own graduations, it shifted from teacher-led to student-led, and even the vibe and the culture at the school, the engagement, the happiness at the school shifted remarkably. And just down at the bottom, you'll see that the Year 6 gifted, these are the gifts that they started giving the school. In the past, it used to be like, some chocolates or something. Now they designed it. These are the fingerprints of 60 of the Year 6 students saying thank you for helping us grow. So the students are now appreciating that these learning opportunities are giving them an opportunity to grow. And at one point, the following year, they said, you always give us medals on when we achieve something. So they put together 20 cents each and they bought a medal for the school. So these little small acts have shifted from being materialistic to actually thinking, you know what, we actually appreciate what the school's doing with deep learning. We went from a letter that the teachers used to send. So one of the things, if you notice in Lynn's video, how it went from everyone doing a car to a flying machine and the creativity in that. We went from everyone being given a letter, hey, come to the graduation, to the students designing individual invites and going around and learning how to communicate and invite people and the protocols that are associated with an invite. So it's been such a world learning experience for them, and it's been happening for the last 5 years now, where teachers are saying we can't go back to us doing it. The students have to do it as part of a deep learning co-curricular activity. The last thing I'll share with you is, and I've shared this before, we're a Muslim school, so we have obviously Islamic studies. We've decided to link all the Quranic threads to the deep learning competencies and where they show up in the stories and the teachings of Islamic studies. This is another example. So even Islamic studies teachers, what they do is they look at the deep learning framework placemat. they consider, like in the past, the way Islamic studies was delivered was more lecture style, a bit like a Friday khutbah in every class. It's moved now to be more student-led. We're looking at the way we, deliver the content. Like one of them would be like, having a court case and introducing legal studies in terms of like a decision that was made and based on the story of Yusuf. So you can see how now the learning and the engagement has shifted, and we're finding there's better impact for the students in terms of them engaging with the content, because the content's important too. This is just another sample from one of our Islamic studies textbooks. We have obviously the pedagogical practices, lesson intention, success criteria. It was never like that in the past, and we focus on character in all this, from kindergarten to year 12. All the focus is on the character dimension in terms of Islamic studies, and we look at, we do the Y chart. Students actually brainstorm what it looks like to have grit, tenacity, perseverance, and resilience. This was post-COVID when we noticed a lot of the students were a bit stressed and mental health started to pop up, and resilience wasn't where we wanted it to be. Students reflect on where they think they're at the start of the year with Islamic studies. This is a year-long textbook, and so then they visit every lesson in terms of that particular dimension for character, and we found just the connection with the teachers and the students reflecting on sabr has made a big difference with it's literally eliminated the effects of COVID, post-COVID, with mental health with our students. This would never have happened if we didn't do a lot of professional learning with our teachers. So if you are going to do deep learning, you have to make time for the teachers to meet, to brainstorm, to fail forward, to think out loud, to try and take risks. And there's no errors. We just told them, just do your best. And if you know that something doesn't work, let us know so we don't waste time and do it again and again. So that's a lot of the feedback. Like I said, we did the DDO mission for the teachers, and they have a goal. So it's not just like they're teachers to teach students to achieve the students' mission. We also want to build capacity with our teachers. Thank you very much. That was a sneak peek. So I'm going to say Terima kasih. I'm trying to learn my Indonesian, so thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. I did want to give you a sneak peek. One thing that would happen after your teachers actually develop confidence in deep learning and start to enjoy it, this is a sneak peek. We're looking at an Al-Nuri thinking toolbox, and all those tools that we mentioned previously, they go into a OneDrive. Teachers can access them from the classrooms. And with this particular one of the challenges we're facing at the moment is AI. So this is the Al-Nuri thinking toolbox with critical thinking, and how one of the verses that we have in Islamic teachings is to verify. So this is about verifying information and misinformation and cross-checking the sources, etc. And the goal of this one is this will be in the toolbox. The teacher can put it up on the classroom. In the classroom, it's also taught in Islamic studies, so there's like transfer, so the students can connect better. And basically, whenever they're dealing with a large source of information, the bias and all that, that's just another tool. But it hasn't been launched yet. We're still workshopping it as a staff. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to ask. And thank you for your patience. It was a bit long.
Thank you, Jumana. It was such a comprehensive example of your growth over the last 5 years. Absolutely amazing what your school has achieved. And what it is for everybody is that modelling of when there is a national and state architecture and you have great leadership within a school that's able to take that teaching and learning understanding into a context that's going to work for a school. You can see the beauty of what's happened in the school. So once again, Jumana, thank you so very, very much for what an amazing example. And I know everybody's just a little bit exhausted about thinking about all the opportunities involved. I can see that that we do have a little bit of time for questions. I can also see that Ibu Lin popped a couple of reflective questions into the chat. So Lin, do you just want to tell us what they are whilst we get together some questions to ask Jumana or Lynn or myself?
Thank you, Jenny. I was just wondering, what are the ideas or possibilities that excite you? What are your wonderings? What is it making you think about? And Why is this kind of learning important?
So there's some great prompts for you to be starting to reflect on and to take back to your school, or you may have a school group there listening to this presentation. Those reflective questions we can come to, but is there a specific question for Jemana that we should see? Lynn, just to let you know, we're travelling now.
May I ask a question to the last presenter?
Yes, Suhasi, to Jemana, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. All of the previous presenters are really inspiring, and we are still too far away from that, but we are learning. My question is related to the strategy. In fact, I have put my question in the chat box here. What is the strategy to ensure that all the 6 Cs are equally developed over time towards the graduate profile? Is there any subject expected, if every subject expected to develop all the 6 Cs, or may give more attention to certain Cs? I mean, certain Cs competencies, according to specific competencies.
So as a school, the strategy that we used was we met as a staff and we decided that knowing our students and collaboration and communication were the 2 competencies that we found we needed to start with, because if you can't collaborate and you can't communicate, then the critical thinking and all that was a bit impacted. So from kindergarten to year 4, that's why you saw those year 4 samples, we decided the focus was only collaboration. And then that obviously continued into year 5, 6, 7, 8. When they got to year 5 and 6, so we divided the competencies into year groups and what was relevant. So critical thinking and creativity, we made that as a focus more like in terms of the programming and the planning in year 9, 10, 11 and 12. Character is something that we embedded in Islamic studies and in wellbeing and PTHPE classes from kindergarten to year 12. So by the end, we covered all the competencies. Citizenship, we covered it in our extracurricular activities with, the charities that we sponsor through STEM, the STEM projects that we do in terms of solving real world problems and empathy and stuff like that. So we just divided it because if it is a lot to do all at once, and the biggest thing we thought is go slow to go fast. So by the end of year 12, they would have been exposed to every single competency, but not necessarily every year group would be doing that until they've developed one.
All right. So you consider that some competencies in a sort of prerequisite to the competencies, right? And the peak is after year 12. Is all of the competency 6 Cs have been developed over the years and horizontally aligned and also sequentially aligned, right?
Yes. So basically by the time because the language of the competency, so we do visit it again, but the language of the direction, for us to break it down for like primary school, like say Kindy year 1 and year 2, we had to start simple. So they do collaboration in Kindy year 1, year 2, as you saw in the example. They wouldn't be doing critical thinking and stuff like that because they're not as developed as we would hope them to be. Obviously at that age, they're still young. But then as we found that once they were good collaborators and then we focused on communication, usually in year 5 and 6 there's a lot of communication tasks, and then once they've mastered those 2, they got the hang of it, and then there's a big focus in year 7 to year 12 on the rest, which is the global citizenship, through STEM, through the subjects.
Oh, and can I have one more question, Jenny?
It's a different question. We might just see if Lynn wanted Lynn, is there anything for you to add to that question? And then Suhasi can ask the next one. And Sandy, I can see your hand up. Yeah.
Different schools do different things, Suhasi. So the unfortunate complexity about this work is that it's exciting and it's energizing, but there isn't a recipe that all schools follow, because schools have to apply it to their context and the capacity and the confidence of their teachers to grow them over time. Some schools look at their scope of sequence across subjects and work out what's the best fit for a different subject. But not all teachers at all times are focusing on competencies in the beginning, because they need some space to make it make sense. It doesn't all happen at once. And they also need opportunities for young people to revisit, as Joanna said, even if collaboration is done in grade 2, you don't lose collaboration. You keep building. So they're like building blocks to make the whole child.
Oh, that's interesting. My next question is, how do you determine the essential knowledge of every subject? Are there any books chosen collectively as reference for teachers? And how do you ensure the horizontal and vertical or sequential alignment in terms of content?
There's no standard reference. Australia.
Are you talking about like the NISA curriculum?
Yeah, kind of.
More
you know, teachers usually are searching for, a kind of recognized reference or something like that.
Yeah. We don't have as many textbooks necessarily across schools in Australia. So teachers need to be the designers of the learning. So they need to know the curriculum. They need to know the curriculum framework.
But we do have a thorough curriculum that is sequential, and people can follow. Then that is different to what they have in Indonesia.
They have a curriculum, but the curriculum doesn't. It outlines the what to teach.
Okay.
It gives some guidance on the how to teach, but we have other resources for that.
Oh, that requires a high level of TPEX in students, right? In teachers.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's a big challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Suhasini. Sandy.
Next,
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. And my first question is for Jenny. It was quite interesting when you showed us the slide where you saw, in that slide, I can see the solo taxonomy is thick in the classroom. So my question is, does it mean that teachers and students understand about that solo taxonomy? And who stick that one? Is it the teachers or student? Because in here, I believe that that kind of framework only teachers knows about it, because it's quite tricky and maybe difficult for students to understand. That one is the first question regarding the solo taxonomy framework that you put in the classroom. Who made it? Is it the teacher or the student? And are the teachers understand about it as well? And maybe my second question is for Joanna. Thank you so much for your explanation. I noticed in your slide when you showed us some kind of collaboration, if I'm not mistaken, and then there is a chart over there. My question is, do you teach that fixes explicitly in the classroom, or just some kind of activities that promote that fixes? So that's my question, whether do you teach that fixes explicitly or implicitly in the classroom? I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy. I'll take the first question and then hand straight to Jemana. In the schools that we visited, it is, first of all, a strong professional development exercise to ensure everybody across the school understood the solo taxonomy. We saw that across South Australian schools because it was one of the taxonomies that that state is finding is very helpful for teacher planning, and Lynn would also add to this in a moment. So in that school, it was strong professional development with the teachers so that the teachers could co-construct it with the students. The students had a shared language of solo in their classrooms, but as we do in every part of the quality teaching framework, it's really important for the teachers to actually know and understand and be able to do, and then to work that through with the students. Lynn, would you like to talk about the solo framework for a sec?
Cannot hear.
Sorry,
Lynn, yeah, mute.
Gave our teachers a scaffold to support them to understand how to move from just planning a surface lesson to grow it to have more depth. So it was an absolute amazing tool that our teachers gravitated to, and it helped them understand how to deepen learning. It gave them explicit language and strategies to do that. The other thing is, in choosing the tool, any of those tools like Solo, it was important that they added value but didn't overwhelm teachers. So they needed to be introduced in a timely manner so that teachers didn't just throw their hands in the air and go, this is just too much, and it was too hard. And the focus needed to be on the work of teachers is about designing learning. They are the architects. So they had to learn this work and build their capacity and get support to be the best learning designers. And so they had to learn on the job. It wasn't something you could fill them up and then they go and do it. They actually had to apply their learning, test it, take risks, and then review how it went.
Thanks, Lynn. And Jemana, your question?
Yeah, with regards to explicitly teaching the competency, so yes, at the start of the, say for example, if we're doing a unit of work for maths, at the start of that unit of work, before the teacher starts the content or introducing the unit of work, they will select a dimension from that competency. In that case, it was interpersonal and team-related skills. They would explicitly go through word by word the dimension, break down the language, and then the Y chart will actually focus on the behaviours for that dimension, what the teacher's looking for, what the teacher should be able to see, hear, and like what it should look like, see it, feel like, and what it should feel like in the classroom. So that's very explicitly done at the beginning of the unit of work. Then of course they focus on the content for that particular unit of work, because deep understanding is also crucial. That's one of the to meet the outcomes of that unit of work. Then when they're doing different activities, so maybe 3 or 4 times when they were designing that unit of work, they would have like a task where the students would have to apply the knowledge that they've learned from that unit of work to test the outcome, whether they understand what they're doing. At that particular point, say for example, they're working together to measure, say, playground equipment outside, the teacher will again revisit that particular dimension for that competency, remind the students of what the behaviours that they're looking for, what it should look like, feel like, and sound like, and then give feedback there. So it's done about 3-4 times throughout the whole unit of work, and with the final end being the reflection, the self-assessment from students. We also do peer assessment. So students will give each other feedback whether they all had a fair go, everyone was part of the group decision that was made, etc. So it is explicitly, it's like a split screen, so it's revisited about 3-4 times in that unit of work.
Thank you, Jemana. Ibu Yuli, I think we've presented a lot of information today, and maybe it's maybe it has raised more questions than answers, and we are quite happy to take more questions. But we also, if people would like to see, can talk with their
What's wrong?
and staffs and
your connection
in collaboration within the districts. And if there was a back and do a deeper focus on things that have this okay? This okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, sorry. We'd be happy to do a follow-up focus questions on the things that have really landed and need a bigger discussion. So we'll hand it back to you, Ibu. We'll hand it back to you now.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Jenny.
Connection
Yeah.
is
Unstable connection, maybe.
She might have dropped out.
Yes.
I think one more question is also arise. Yeah.
Okay.
Ya, baik. Bapak Ibu ada yang ingin bertanya, silahkan.
One more question, Jenny, Lynn, and Jumana is regarding on the book of Michael Fullan's mention about collaborative inquiry. So could you please probably, because we haven't heard about in the probably district levels of the government, or we don't know yet about the collaborative inquiry itself, how it's happened, and probably implementing it in the different states.
Yeah. So, Evelyn, because this comes to, it's a district facilitation as well then. So we might go from Lynn to Jumana, or Lynn, would it be helpful to go the other way?
I think Jumana first.
Lynn?
Okay. So with the collaborative, no problem. With the collaborative inquiry cycle, if you saw in our planning template, the learning design planning template for our program, right at the end, we have a reflection. So after we've implemented it, we reflect on the teaching and learning that actually happened. So what usually happens at the end of that unit of work, the team of teachers that were teaching that particular unit of work, like say, for example, maths, I had about 6 teachers teaching it. They all come together for about half an hour and they reflect on what worked well, what didn't work very well, what they could change, how they can actually, look at the 4 different learning design elements and what they could have added. Like, for example, in the first year, we only focused on those 2 pedagogical practices and learning partnerships at the time with the groups. The following year, after they did the collaborative inquiry cycle and they went like the full circle and they assessed how they went, what worked, what didn't work, they added the learning environments where they took a maths lesson outside into the real playground and used bigger objects. So it's done at the end of every unit of work. Sometimes it's done like in person as a group because we happen to have the time at school. Other times it's done through MS Teams. So we leverage digital technology where everyone through a Teams chat puts in their ideas and then one person then is tasked with updating that unit of work to deepen it for the following year. Like we've been 6 years doing this, and now I can confidently say even our maths units of work have really deepened. Like we're focusing on critical thinking for high school. I've noticed a big difference in the quality based on that collaborative inquiry cycle and the teachers meeting together to participate in this.
And can I just add to that? If you think about it's an improvement cycle. It's a cycle to reflect and improve. So the cycle starts, it can be used, as Jumana said, to review a unit of work and to help design a unit of work, but can it also be used at a school level to think about how the work is going, or at a system or regional district to think about it. So the words that we use are, you assess, look at where things are at, then you design to match your context, whether it's designing learning for students or designing a professional learning program for teachers. Then you implement, and then you measure, reflect, and change. And then the cycle starts again. So it's lots of our jurisdictions across Australia have a school improvement model which uses a similar framework: assess, design, implement, measure, reflect, change. But they might use slightly different words, and I'm sure in your context you have an improvement cycle. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yuli?
Okay. Thank you very much. Any addition? No? Okay, thank you, very much for the speaker, Mrs. Louise, Mrs. Davy, and Mrs. Dinawi, and also our participants as well. So for participants, as a reminder, please complete the attendance list. Before we end this seminar, let's take a group photo to commemorate this seminar. Yeah. Pak Ibu, please turn on your camera. I will take the photo of the first slide. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3. The next slide, wait. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Ibu.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Where is the attendance list? The attendance.
Yeah, it's on the chat box.
The
It's
chat
on the
box.
Yeah.
Just a moment.
So,
Saya penumpang.
as the summary of this seminar, I will conclude that this seminar share an overview of deep learning framework and its context in Australia, especially about teachers as architects of learning, use thoughtful strategies, assessment, and competencies to make students' deep learning growth feasible and guide them from surface to deep to transfer understanding. So when curriculum, learning frameworks, competencies, and teachers' roles align, students can build strong academic skills and global competencies through clear, practical, and powerful learning designs. So by focusing on what truly matters about the competencies such as character, citizenship, collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking, so the teachers help learners to stay engaged, apply their learning, and thrive without feeling overwhelmed. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for your information.
Thank you,
For,
Bu.
thank you.
Thank you so much for
your
waiting.
information.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Yeah, thank
Lydia. Thank you so much, Jenny, Lin, Jumana, Prof. Suarsip, Prof. Medira, dan semua ya.
Belum ketemu presidensinya, Mbak.
I'm sorry, thank you so much. So I just end the meeting.
Well, thank you too. You know, I'm trying to find the attendance list.
Okay, I will share again, Ibu.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, here it is.
All right, that's good.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ibu. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. So thank you very much for your time and contributions. And since it is continuing series, so please stay connected with us in the next meeting.
Yeah. Thank you, Lydia. Just my connection has a problem, so I cannot end the meeting. So everyone, please leave the meeting. I think I just started open up the Zoom. Thank you so much, Jenny, Lin, Jumana. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you.